Hi, everyone. Val Evans and Grace Wilson are here, and we're here on the eve of the scheduled press conference tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, tentatively. The family and law enforcement and the YouTube community is awaiting this momentous occasion that everyone, the world, has waited for 5.5 years. It is hard to believe. Hi, Grace.
Hi, Val.
Can you believe it?
Well, of course I can. I predicted it. No, not really. Um,
We need to talk about that.
well,
That
I
is
told you.
a true statement.
Yeah.
And people are
And
going crazy about it online, looking at the solar chart prediction, which you are responsible for, and you were pushing for the show, and glad we did it.
I'm glad we did it too.
And it's not just, that's not, um, it's not about, we who can predict it or not. It's just that we're so fascinating that the charts work. The chart works.
Exactly. The
So,
charts are the charts are never wrong. Excuse me.
no.
The charts are never wrong. Only our interpretations of the charts can be wrong.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it has forced, in my mind, it has forced everyone to go through all of the things that they thought about during this case. I know there may be hundreds of groups that used to brainstorm late at night trying to figure out who it was, the web sleuthing community. There were questions that were unanswered, like, I wonder if BG is in this press conference, the earlier ones. There was just conjecture on where he worked, what he did. And we're going to take a look at the crime chart first, the original crime chart that we looked at. And then we got a couple of other charts, and then we're going to look at the press conference chart. So let's see what we got here. Okay. So this is the original crime chart. And we were always transfixed on that Neptune, which, meant multiple things, but it being called the Snapchat murders to begin with seemed like it was a good reflection of this chart. It kind of categorized the chart, that was what it was going to be called. The ninth house, I think, also made some people, including myself, believe that this person might be religious because it's in the ninth house. And the sun is the co-ruler of the perpetrator. So I just kept going back and forth. Maybe he's a local minister. People were, and in fact, even astrologers and non-astrologers were looking at every single minister that you could think of. And you get disappointed, I think, in the sense that, okay, how was that not the truth? But what's really interesting, if you Google Richard Allen, you know what comes up on Wikipedia? A
No,
minister.
what?
Richard Allen was a famous minister. Can you believe it?
That's hilarious.
I know, I know. So that's pretty crazy. Now,
And also in
uh-huh,
the original chart, the name Richard is conjunct the sun,
okay. And
which
is
you
that,
said is
go ahead?
co-ruler of the perp, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh, now
The
we.
name Richard, just the name Richard.
Oh, just the name. Okay, yes. Sorry. Um, and then also Pluto represents the name Richard if you think of it as a male body part. But that gets into the weeds a little bit. All right, we're going to return back to this chart in a second, but remember how we were always, let me just give this one last comment, unless you have anything on this, but remember how we were just always transfixed on this female here with red hair. And we were like, okay, well, that's got to be Abby. But it just seemed, because it was in the 10th house, there had to be some kind of theme there with people, with women with red hair. Maybe it was a female law enforcement officer. And it almost seemed as if that person would be involved somehow, or maybe not involved, but would be featured somehow in the crime. And then with the 7 degrees being the Libra degree, that would be a wife. So we always knew it was somebody's like wife that was giving the alibi, that was helping in some way. Now we don't know how she's going to help right now, but it sure seems like maybe one of Richard Allen's family members has the red hair, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. We don't know enough, and I don't want to talk too much about family members. But it's kind of wild.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, okay, this was this year's solar chart. Give me 1 second. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. And I usually look at the solar chart with like solar chart only, but I thought this was interesting how we always identify BG as being Saturn there in blue. That's the original Delphi chart. But now look where Saturn has traveled all the way up to the 9th house. And you can see Saturn there in orange, and it's within 1 degree of the 9th house of press. So it had been years that he was in the 8th house of secrets. He was like the secret killer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how he felt or how his presence was in the 7th house, how it would have been. Maybe he was, being the family man, focusing on his marriage or whatever. There is, on another note, there is a rumor, or was a rumor, that BG was part of the search party. And so we don't know that yet, but that was another big question,
Disgusting.
remember?
Disgusting.
Yeah, it would be pretty sick. Okay, a couple of charts, then we're going to get to the press conference chart. With this chart, this of course is the crime chart, the original crime chart. And we knew that Bridge Guy was Saturn because it rules the 7th house. And Sagittarius, that little red arrow, shows bridges. So Bridge Guy, we also saw that 25 degrees is the Aries degree. So it was like killer on a red bridge. Like that's how you could read it. But it would just show certain characteristics. And we were trying to figure it out because 25 sometimes means a law enforcement or a person of authority. I don't think that was the case here. In fact, I was even looking at was the Golden State Killer,
Oh, yeah.
and trying to compare there, because there was that Aries, and Aries just shows that prevalence of police and law enforcement, and maybe even fire department. You never know. But the reason that I showed this part is because Saturn, or showed this, put this slide up. Saturn is trining Uranus. And what that would show is that he would change. He would change his appearance. Uranus is to change. And how did he change his appearance? He looked like a military guy. He shaved his head. And he also, I think when he grew out that goatee, it was kind of a reddish hue. Now, I think maybe that's stretching it a little bit. Maybe there's something else, but that's certainly a detail that I just noted when I saw this, when I looked at it again today.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and then um, I had this from the original crime chart. We had Mercury in the was it the 9th house? Was it? No, Mercury was in the 8th house,
Yes.
and sextiling Saturn. And I've seen this in people's birth charts who are like, child molesters. Like the theme right now, and Mars is in Gemini right now. And is Mars in Gemini?
Yes,
Mars, yeah.
retrograde. Mhm.
I've seen so many charts today, my eyes are crossing. Right, and it just went retrograde, which is very interesting. But when you see Mars in Gemini and it's really poorly placed, you can see someone who is very, and what's the word? Aggressive, ambitious, forceful on children. Like if you see Mars in Pisces, that's somebody who really drinks excessively, who loves alcohol and drugs and just overdoes it, steps over the line. Well, and you kind of see this aspect here with Mars um, sextiling Mercury, because it's like this man that loves children, and which is disgusting. But the other thing that you see is Mars is a man. Traditionally, it's a man in crime charts. And if you sextile it to Mercury, that's two men. It could be two sketches, but it is two men. And then you've got that female there. So I don't know what's happening here. You know, we thought it might be money, but I would say that's a confirmation of a man or two men or a group of men.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
One of my questions, and maybe someone in the audience knows the answer
Yeah.
and can put it in the comments, but my question is, where did he work before? Because we know he lived in Peru, which is the same town that the Kleins live in.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering what he did before.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, if it's military or police, which I doubt it's police, but if it's something Aries related, like if you work construction, you want to see how this is going to come to life in Aries.
I think it's the automobile plant because think about it. Automobiles um, are covered by Mercury, but the engine itself is
Oh.
Mars.
Hmm. Well, I think with Aries and Mars, we are going to see a lot of red themes. And I think we're going to see, it's going to be, this has happened before, and this is why I say this. When you have like Venus in Aries and it's so high up in the chart, it means everybody can see. Um, it's almost like the themes are like, oh, there's a redhead. Oh, there's another redhead. Oh, wow, there's another redhead. And oh, by the way, one of the victims was a redhead. Like it's a constant theme. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Okay. So this is just a simple press conference chart. I thought it was interesting how, when you look at these charts, you're like, okay, you've got to do a mental check. Who's who? Okay, so, well, if the ascendant is Scorpio, well, sometimes that can be a murderer. But wait a minute, we've got the seventh house cusp on Algol. Okay, so that's probably the murderer. Okay, and Scorpio is the investigators. Would you agree with that, or what's your take on it?
I agree with that.
Okay.
And uh, because of the asteroids that are around the AC, tells me that it's about investigation. It's about someone seeing something or something found.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, and we'll show how the asteroids bring it to life a little bit in a second. I I got a feeling in my stomach that either the weekend was used to round up some more people involved, or it was used to somehow strategize how they were going to lay out the case against this person, because maybe it's more complicated than we think. What is your thought about that? Like, do you actually think this press conference is going to happen at 10? Because I've heard 10, and then I'm like, oh, I saw they were like, oh, we're rescheduling it to 12. Like, what do you think? Is it solid or what?
Well, I think it will happen. I mean,
Hmm.
they can't just tell us that they're going to do it. That
Right.
would upset
Just
the
keep
people in
postponing. Yeah.
Delphi.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you if it's going to be delayed. I mean, maybe because it's at such a late degree, it will be delayed a little bit. But
Mhm. It makes you feel sorry for the people who have to wait all weekend. This must be a very long weekend to wait, especially for the
yeah,
families,
hmm
and not being able to say anything. Like, I know my inner circle, your inner circle, they know the Patties, and the Patties have reached out to hundreds of people trying to help them piece things together. It's a big sleuthing community that they're part of. So they can't really say anything to these people, and it must be hard. And they just want to close the book on this. Okay, so I'm babbling here. Let me go to a couple more thoughts.
you're
Um,
empathizing.
yes, yes. Uh, okay, what I see here is a lot of energy in the 12th house of secrets. The perp is in there, and the way that I get the perp is the 7th house cusp is in Taurus at Algol, the devil. So he's the devil, and he's in jail. He's in the 12th. So that's easy. And then pulling the what is it? PN personal name PNA. I always want to say PNO. PNA, personal name asteroid Richard at 21. 21 is the Sagittarius degree, so bridge guy. Um, and then we have two more planets in there. This is with Mercury because they're in such close proximity. This is a stellium. This is a lot of secrets. Um, and the sun at 8 degrees, I don't know. That's, well, obviously that's murder. That's a murderer. The sun is always the co ruler, so you could say that. And then you have Abby and Mercury in the 11th house. So this is Abby and Abby's friend. If you weren't going to look at Libby, you would see Abby and Abby's friend in the 11th. And the 11th house is community or friends. And
Networks.
what's that?
Networks.
Networks, right.
So, and they reached him through, I think, like Instagram or Snapchat. That's kind of like a network of people.
Yep. Yep. When I
Mhm.
see a chart, an event chart with a big X through it, a lot of times it's a grand square. But in this case, it's just like it's got a lot of problems. Um, Sometimes that to me is a sign of no go. I don't know why, but it's like when you draw a Hori and you're like, am I going to go on that trip next month, whatever, and you get an X, it's like, try again. So I wonder how that might play. Um, could be something minor, but it seems like something was anticipated that's not going to happen. These T squares, which are the red triangles, there's a bunch of them, and um, and how Moon and Pluto in the second house, that is super famous. Like, as a case is going to be super famous when you see in a chart. Now, obviously, this isn't a crime chart, but this will be a super famous press conference because Moon is the public, Moon is fame, Pluto is an amplifier of times a million. So it's a huge, huge, famous trial, and it instantly makes look. Well, it's not really aspecting Richard, but it's it's making things around the ascendant famous. Let's just say that. And then I'm going to make one more point, and then we're going to go on to the asteroids. But I circled video and photos. Now, what represents the investigators? That's Mars. Mars is in the seventh. Mars is retrograde. Remember, when we get a planet that's retrograde. They're flawed. They're not at full strength, and it's squaring Neptune and Jupiter. So that means to me they're trying to get some film or photos and they can't. And then look how it opposes the Kathy PNA. And and it's almost like maybe they're asking her for something and she doesn't know where it is, or she doesn't have access to it, or somehow it's just not it's not going the way the police want. There's a big fight over what's in the fourth house. And, the fourth house is the home. It's hidden, pictures hidden in the home. And then it trines Libby. So it doesn't really aspect Abby. So it makes me think that either he has some kind of photo evidence that he only knows about, because look at the trine to Richard. He knows where those photos are in his home or when they were in his home. Now, Pisces could be in the back, the backyard could be, obviously it's not the shower, but it could be, near a water type of source, I guess.
Yeah, maybe a pond in the backyard.
There you go. Yes, a pond. Yeah.
Or a river in somebody's backyard.
Do you think they have a river?
Well, wasn't the river that they were searching behind the Klein's house?
Yes. Okay, behind the house. So the Pisces in the fourth could be behind the house. Because I was thinking at first, well, wouldn't it have to be in the house? But maybe not. Just in proximity to. And let's see. What's really nice is when I see Saturn at 18, which is a super negative degree. It's the evil, it's the evil Grim Reaper. That's the only thing I can think of. And it's the karma planet, and it's squaring Richard. So karma's coming for Richard.
Oh, it is.
And it is like a smack. Look, that's the other point I wanted to make. Look how Saturn in the third house squares Richard, then opposes Uranus. And when you see Uranus, I wish I could point to it. Can you see my pointer?
Yes.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Mhm.
I didn't think I could for some reason, because I put the slides up this time. But anyway, you've got Saturn here. Then you've got squaring Richard. Okay. Then you're opposing Uranus. He was shocked that they caught him. Like, that's what I see in this chart. Like, he doesn't even believe he's in jail right now. He doesn't know what the hell to do. And, he doesn't really, he doesn't have much to go with, except I don't like seeing trines from the perp. Okay. Which of course would be, maybe it describes him with Neptune there as the pharmacy tech, right? But that's the fourth house, so I'm not sure about that. But it's almost like this is a disguise. We know Neptune's a disguise. 22 is the killer degree, so killer disguise. Richard with the killer disguise at home. I could read it that way. But this is the press conference chart. So I wonder what that means when it comes to maybe he has an advantage of something. Maybe they're trying to find something on him and he's able to hide it. That's what I'm getting at from it.
Now, remember, trines are not always good.
Yes.
So what it could be showing us, I'm sorry. Hang on 1 second.
I've also got that sextile with Pluto. See, you've got the trine, then you've got the sextile to Pluto and Moon. So these are famous video and photos that this is all about.
Right. But so the fourth house is the end of the matter.
Yep.
So if this is what they're going to be talking about, then the end of the matter where the photos led them to Richard, who is in the 12th house and locked up.
Yeah, we found his disguise at home.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's got to be that Snapchat video to begin with because of the trine to Libby. Um, it's obvious that is the big photo, the big famous photo that made world headlines, which would explain Moon and Pluto. But I would like to know what that square is. It almost looks like the police don't have everything they want yet. Okay. Now we're going to go on to, you added the personal name asteroid. Well, you named not only some people with asteroids, but also some fixed stars and some other stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, like I said, on the now this is very interesting. On the ascendant, which is 27 Scorpio, there is the asteroid Erda, which means the seer or the one who saw through things, kind of like a psychic. I thought that was
Okay.
very interesting. And it
Oh, well,
also,
that's Delphi. Delphi is an oracle.
yes, there
Oh
you
my,
go. Oh
I
my
am
gosh, that's
getting
hilarious.
goosebumps. Woo.
And then it also has the asteroid Semele, which means disguise.
Okay.
And I thought that was very interesting.
Wow. So
Uh,
a disguised Richard in Delphi. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Then if we look over here at Pluto and the moon in the second house, we see the asteroid Justitia, which means justice. And we also see one called Minerva, which is where the answers are.
That's right.
So I think that speaks a lot to where they got this information, what type of information, and what it will lead to.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get to Saturn, I have notes all over.
Yeah, there's a lot. A lot.
Okay, so you can see that the point of fortune
Yeah.
is there, and Saturn means to stop,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
They stopped him. They were successful in that. And if you look across, exactly across is the P&A Tony S, which we use for the Tony Shots account.
That's right. At 18 degrees, the evil degree.
Mm-hmm. So because of the Tony Shots account, they've stopped him.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I thought that was just so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Then see Kagan here on the second house cusp.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean on the third?
Yes.
Third house? Okay.
Third house. Sorry.
Yeah.
He is conjunct Germania. German.
Okay.
Liberty German.
Ah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And he's in the third, which means he spoke. He
Yes.
blabbed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's look at the Neptune and the Jupiter, right? So Neptune is with fixed star Markab, which shows a violent death early in life, and that's what happened to the girls. It also has an asteroid Chrysothemis, which is golden justice. I'm sorry. Hispania, which it means a network. It means someone who puts things like web pages in order. I mean, and it literally means web pages.
Wow.
So that tells me that it's related to the operation that Kagan had,
Okay.
right? Then we have Jupiter, who's at 29 degrees Pisces, and that is the home of the fixed star sheet.
Sheet, our
And when
favorite.
it's with Jupiter, that indicates a danger of prison.
Yep.
So, and that's Trine Richards. So,
And
yeah,
you mentioned,
that's
you said Marcab is next to Neptune. Marcab being violent death, Neptune being photos of violent death, maybe.
yes,
And next to Jupiter, lots of photos. Like we're not
yes.
talking, like I think most of us who are normal, we just automatically think he took a couple of shots,
Mm, mm, mm.
not to be confused with Anthony's shots, but he, I think he took an extraordinary number, but it's impossible to tell.
I don't like to hear that.
Yeah, yeah,
So Uranus is at 17 Taurus. Okay, so that's the home of next week's eclipse.
that's right.
And then if you look over here at the Mercury, which is conjunct Abby and DRS, that is the place of last week's eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
So this case got a double whammy. I mean, right
That's
on the
amazing.
money. Then 17 Taurus opposite is 17 Libra, which is 18 Libra is the arrest degree. So it was a sudden arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, Mars here, he's definitely the perp, even though it's kind of the police here, but they're talking about the perp because um, it's conjunct a fixed star called Alnitak, and it means a treacherous predator. And that's also the place of the murder.
Okay.
So it's the Arabic part of place of murder. Then we've got, if we look at Mercury, we've got cover or suppress. So someone covered this up, they
Mm-hmm.
suppressed it. And we have frivolous woman who holds the answers.
That's interesting.
Not making this up. I
Yeah,
was like,
I could see this.
ooh.
I can see that coming into play.
Yeah,
There's
it's
definitely a female that we're going to see. She's going to appear somehow. Maybe she already has, associated with the perp, but I feel like it could be her or somebody else that's coming in.
yes. Well, when we look at the sun, who is conjunct Venus, um, it's conjunct a fixed star called Mimosa, which means a successful investigation.
Okay.
And
Mimosa. I like it.
Mimosa, yes. And it has
Okay.
perseverantia, which means to persevere. It has Julong, which means harsh truth or brainwashing or self deceit. So she lied to herself all these years. She's been lying to herself. That's
Yeah.
not what that means. You know,
Ah,
yeah, yeah. So,
wow. Okay. Can I say something real quick?
oh, you bet. I'm done.
I Oh, you're done. Okay.
I'm not
I
done, but I'm done.
okay. I Goodbye. Black Moon Lilith in the 8th next to Libby. Okay. Black Moon Lilith, I pay a lot of attention. I know you do too in crime charts because Black Moon Lilith, sometimes it means like sexy female, but sometimes it means what one lusts for. And sometimes it means like a secret. Okay. So let's just say it means a secret. We have, um, we don't have exactly, it's hard to see. Richard is trying, it's almost like the Libby secret in the 8th house. Okay. Um, it tries a 12. But then I see this T-square, the T-square being the big red triangle, where it's like Libby's secret, or maybe it's not Libby's secret, maybe it's the secret about Libby, opposing great fame in the second house. And then the point right there of Mercury, it's almost like obviously it's the child secret or two people's secret, but why is it a T-square? Like, what's that stress there for the press conference? Like, is it there's still a secret that we don't know? They're going to tell us a few things, but there's still a lot to unravel.
I think so. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
What's interesting is Richard has Black Moon Lilith and Abby conjunct. And that is exactly conjunct the Snapchat vertex, which is turning point or point of no return.
The point of fate.
Fate. Mm-hmm.
And okay, wow. So when you say Black Moon Lilith conjunct Richard, which one are you talking about? Which chart?
That's his natal chart.
His natal chart, yeah. And I hate to tease everyone, but we are going to look at his natal chart probably in the next couple of days. I am rectifying it right now. You probably are too. And I'm stuck between, because everybody knows his birthday now, 9/9/1972. And he was born in Indiana. I can't remember which city, but anyway, I'm thinking he's either Sagittarius ascendant, because everybody sees him as bridge guy, or a Gemini ascendant. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a talker to me. They said he was pretty quiet. But the reason I would say Gemini would be because Gemini comes into play because of Richard Allen. It's two first names. And sometimes I see that when I see a Gemini ascendant. So I'm not sure, but I'm just kind of looking at that. And once I feel like we could still read it. We don't have to totally rectify it.
Right.
What do you remember what ascendant you got?
I've got Scorpio 22 on the ascendant, but that's a noon chart. I haven't.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. We could use that.
I haven't brought up the chart. Yeah, right. I haven't brought up the chart. I haven't looked at it today.
Okay.
But I wanted to see, and I thought maybe he had, like me, a retrograde Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't. It's just in Virgo, which, there you go. That's a slow talker, or not a slow talker, but someone who doesn't talk very much.
Okay. And like a gravelly voice. Remember how we were talking about how Saturn is like rocks, in Aquarius is like a gravelly voice.
Yes.
And how it's aspecting Richard. And then Hill would obviously come in here, maybe not the press conference, because they're not going to be talking about how he said that. But that, I suppose, would be Leo if you're talking about that.
Right. Another thing I just want to point out from his natal chart, now that we're still looking at the press conference chart, is his Neptune is exactly conjunct Photographica in the press conference chart.
Okay.
So let me.
Oh, that's the other thing. When I saw his birth chart, I felt like the 10th house should be Pisces because he's a pharmacy tech.
Sure.
So I thought that might be one way to narrow it down. But like you said, it's going to be very intriguing to find out what his life was before this, because we're only seeing a small portion of his life.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this press conference, if it happens, it sure looks like a lot of words, Mercury, about Abby, and I don't know. There's going to be something different. It almost seems like they're going to spotlight one of the girls more in the press conference. I don't know, based on what they know, I guess.
I
And
guess.
I guess that's all I have. But
Okay.
it makes sense. It makes sense. So I hope this clears up a couple of things about what to expect. But we're hoping that it takes place tomorrow. And we're thinking that it's more than one perp that's involved, like we always have. And if you haven't caught it, catch our eclipse and I don't even remember what the title was, but
Delphi update.
will the Delphi, will the eclipse result in the Delphi arrest? And that's been really popular lately. So, and that was, I guess we did that 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, and
Well,
I guess,
I do have still a couple of questions that I hope are answered tomorrow. One of them being, when we first saw the arrest, it's not the warrant, but where they logged him in, the computer, the web page where they logged him in, it showed that he used an alias
yes, that Craig. Yep.
disguise.
Yes.
I wonder if that was just a red herring or if it's that has just thrown me for a loop because that's a real person.
Yeah.
That's
I
not a
know.
made up name. So that is just disturbing. I
Yeah.
want to know where he worked before.
Uh huh.
And I want to know whether or not his wife is a teacher
I know. You were asking me that
or
today.
maybe a daycare worker or owns, work manages a daycare. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just something I'm seeing. I could be wrong. Like I said, the chart's never wrong, just my interpretation.
I'm loving the comments. I totally forgot to go to the comments because I was looking at the chart so much.
Oh
but yes, M, I tell you, I think she probably wrote this when I was talking about how everybody had their own like secret groups and trying to get information. It was a cult of, well, there's Neptune at the top of the Delphi crime chart, but there were different YouTube cults and web sleuths and Reddit groups, and it was like everybody had the wrong guy. If Richard Allen is one of the guys, he was under everybody's radar. He was not on everybody's radar, but we've got some good comments here. Let's see. I don't remember the psychic who was instrumental in this case. Um, that would be. Oh, we got spammed. Oh my god. I feel important. Wow, we're at that level where we're getting spammed. This is awesome.
hello, haunted parlor. That I like that name.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, well, I guess we're
Well,
just
I
gonna
mean,
have to wait.
astrology is sort of seeing into things.
I think it's interesting that Haunted Parlor doesn't think Richard is BG. I think he
Oh,
is. I think he is, and I'll tell you why. Everybody was saying how he was a certain height, and when you're trying to guess a guy's height for as many years as I have, when they send me a picture, I know a guy and his height. I knew there was no way he was a tall guy. You could just tell by his legs. So a lot of these POIs that were coming down the pike, you're like, there's no way that that was him.
like Tony Klein.
Yeah, that was one of them. There were so many. I really feel bad for those people that were identified and just harassed and stalked for
Yeah.
years, and you wonder what's going to come of that, if there are lawsuits or, but we don't know if Richard Allen is part of a group of people. We don't know. Let's see what else we have. Oh, Pooh Bear is saying that Richard Allen worked in a Walmart. Hmm.
He doesn't have much of a career.
Yeah, not against anyone who works at Walmart.
because
Now,
he just got his pharmacy tech license,
okay,
like
yeah. You know
very
what's
recently.
funny? We saw Moon and Pluto, and I've seen that in crime charts where, you know, those lorries that get pulled over, usually in a Walmart parking lot, and there's a bunch of immigrants in the back. You see
Hmm.
Moon being like public, Pluto lots, like that's where lots of the public go. I've always seen that when Walmart is in the mix. So I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. Oh, okay. Yes, everyone is saying something about Sloan Bella. I gotta check her out. I've never heard of her, and everybody knows her. I guess I'm the only one that doesn't. Do you know who that is?
No, is she a psychic or an astrologer?
Yeah, she called it. So I don't know what she called, but she did enough to impress a heck of a lot of people.
Do you know if she's a psychic or an astrologer?
She's a psychic.
Ah.
Hmm. Let's see. Oh, um, okay. Midwest girl. She worked in a vet office.
Hmm.
That would be Virgo,
It
and
sure would.
I'm assuming we're talking about the significant other.
Wife. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Okay, and maybe he was a manager in at Walmart. Well, you're welcome, Haunted Parlor. Uh, she's thanking us for covering the astrology perspective. And I think that's all we have. So what we'll do next time is look at the birth chart for Richard Allen. I'd also like to look at the one of the first press conferences. I guess were there two or three?
Oh,
Yeah, we
yes. I want to look at that one where Doug Clark said,
he's right
uh,
here or whatever.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
right in under our nose, or what, that famous one.
Oh, and remember how they were talking about the shack? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So if we're looking at the shack, I always thought was Moon in Virgo. It's like a small home. And I think that was in the crime chart. But I don't see that here. Like I don't see any shack here unless you're looking at the 10th house, which is like Virgo, like the shack out in public. But I don't know. That I think that might be a stretch. But something to also remember. Okay. And okay, M says, I love this. M knows the date. It was April 22nd, 2019. God, you look back on these numbers, huh? 22?
April 22nd, what? 2019?
Yeah, that was one of the that was that press conference we're
That
talking about.
Precy? Okay. Does she remember the time?
I
Could
think
we
I want
be
to say
that
it was
lucky?
like if I remember correctly, it was like one. Oh, that's right. The shack was on the Mears property. I never thought, oh, M is saying would it be interesting if Shack was an asteroid? That's a good point.
Ooh.
We should check that out. Or like some asteroid that somehow describes it. But yeah, it was the Monday after Easter. Everybody knows. Like we know this like yesterday because I remember drawing charts for that press conference because we wanted to know if he was in that room. So that would be interesting to see. So the next time we meet, we're going to look over Richard Allen's birth chart. We'll look over that press conference. Maybe we'll look at a shack asteroid, and
We'll see what we can find.
see what we can find. And it's the eve of this press conference. I hope it goes through. Yeah, M says we are obsessed. Yeah, we're totally obsessed. We're going to have a lot of news this week. So we're going to try to wait until the right moments. And then, because I didn't want to jump, I was tempted to jump on Friday, but you feel like you need a little bit more information,
Yes.
but who knows? Well, we will talk this week, I'm sure. Thanks again, Grace, for your time. And thanks, everyone, for signing on and checking out the channel. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.